What if I told you your life is already changing, even if you haven't realized it yet? Most people don't notice when everything begins to shift. They wake up, go through their routine, check their phones, answer emails, all while quietly drifting further away from who they're meant to become. But here's the truth: transformation doesn't always knock. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes the signs are subtle, like feeling disconnected from what once made you happy, or waking up with a quiet sense that something isn't quite right anymore. And here's the part most people miss. When those signs show up, your life is already changing. Maybe you've been feeling a little more restless lately. Maybe your old goals don't excite you the way they used to. Maybe the conversations you once tolerated now feel shallow or exhausting. That's not you losing interest. That's your spirit outgrowing the life you've been living. And if you're here watching this video, listening to these words, then you already know. Something inside you is calling for more. More meaning, more clarity, more alignment with who you truly are. We live in a world that celebrates the grind, the noise, the constant pursuit of more. But what happens when more no longer feels like enough? What happens when the life you built starts feeling like a siege? I'm not here to tell you your life is broken. I'm here to tell you it's evolving. And you're not alone. Every meaningful transformation begins with awareness. Not a dramatic event, not a life crisis, just a moment like this one, when something deep within you quietly whispers, "This isn't it anymore." Think about it. Have you ever felt like you were standing at the edge of something, but you didn't know what? Have you felt a strange calm in the middle of uncertainty? Like part of you already knows a breakthrough is coming. That's not your imagination. That's your intuition. And it's not a coincidence you're here right now. You're being invited to pay attention, to look closer at the signs you've been dismissing, the shifts you've been feeling, the truths you've been avoiding. Because here's the thing, change doesn't ask for permission. It arrives when it's time. And if you ignore it, life has a way of turning up the volume through discomfort, disconnection, even chaos. But if you lean in, if you choose to listen, you unlock something most people spend their whole lives searching for: the power to align with your next chapter before it fully arrives. So in this video, we're not just talking about change. We're going to uncover the subtle, powerful signs that you're already in the middle of a transformation. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. And by the end of this journey, you'll see things differently. Not because I told you, but because deep down, you already knew. Sign 1. You're losing connection with people. Have you ever looked around and realized you're not as close to people as you once were? You didn't fight, you didn't do anything wrong, and yet the phone doesn't ring like it used to. The group chats go quiet. The invitations slow down. People who once felt like home now feel like strangers. It's disorienting because connection is one of our most basic human needs. So when those connections start slipping through our fingers, we naturally assume something must be wrong with me. But what if the opposite is true? What if this shift isn't about who's leaving, but about who's making space to arrive? You see, when you begin to evolve, quietly, internally, often without even realizing it, your energy shifts. And that shift is subtle, but powerful. It doesn't just change how you see the world. It changes what the world reflects back to you. That includes the people around you. Some friendships were built on a version of you that no longer exists. Maybe they thrived on your people-pleasing. Maybe they were sustained by shared wounds instead of shared growth. Or maybe They just serve their purpose, and that purpose is now complete. And I know that's hard to hear because we want everything good to last forever. But growth has its own timeline, and not everyone is meant to walk every mile of it with you. There's a quiet wisdom in recognizing when someone's season in your life is over. It doesn't mean they were fake. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means the path has split, and your journey requires a different kind of support now. Think of it like this. When you're climbing to higher altitudes, not everything can come with you. Even airplanes have to release weight to reach a new height. Sometimes that weight is emotional, relationships that feel heavier than they used to. But here's the truth most people miss. The people you lose during seasons of change were never meant to hold your future. They were a part of your foundation, not your expansion. And the good news? When the old circle begins to fade, it makes room for new alignment. People who resonate with who you are now, not who you were 5 years ago. People who don't just tolerate your growth, but inspire it. So if you're losing connection with people right now, breathe. Don't force what's fading. Don't chase what's drifting. And above all, don't shrink yourself just to stay in rooms you have already outgrown. This isn't isolation, it's transformation. You're not losing people. You're aligning with the version of yourself that finally knows what and who deserves to stay. Sign 2. Unexpected opportunities appear. Sometimes the most life-changing moments don't come with a warning. They don't announce themselves. They arrive quietly, wrapped in what looks like coincidence or luck. You're going about your day like usual, checking your email, running errands, stuck in traffic, and suddenly something shows up. A message, an idea, an unexpected introduction, an offer you weren't even looking for, and your first instinct to question it. Why now? Am I even ready for this? Is this too good to be true? We've been trained to think that opportunity arrives when we're fully prepared, fully confident, fully clear. But real life doesn't work that way. Opportunity doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It comes when the timing is aligned. Not with your comfort, but with your calling. Think back on your life for a moment. How many small moments ended up becoming turning points? A conversation that changed your perspective, a chance meeting that led to something you never expected, an idea that kept you up at night, and months later became something real. These moments often start as whispers. They don't shout, they nudge. They give you a glimpse of what's possible if you say yes, without having all the answers. But here's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. The ones who grow don't wait for certainty. They move anyway. Because the truth is, most people miss their moment not because it didn't come, but because they talked themselves out of it. They told themselves, it's not the right time. I'm not qualified. Maybe later. But later isn't guaranteed. And the cost of waiting is often invisible until it's too late. Until you see someone else take the idea you had and run with it. Until the door that was open quietly closes. So here's the mindset shift. When an opportunity comes, especially one that feels aligned but slightly uncomfortable, it's probably exactly what you need. Because growth rarely feels like safety. It feels like expansion. It feels like nervous excitement. It feels like possibility wrapped in risk. And yes, stepping into something unknown is scary. But you know what's scarier? Looking back and realizing you stayed exactly where you were because fear won. If life is presenting you with some unexpected right now, pay attention, even if it doesn't make perfect sense yet. Even if it challenges your routine or forces you to stretch. Sometimes the right path doesn't show up as a plan, it shows up as a pull. And the longer you wait, the easier it becomes to talk yourself out of the very thing that could change everything. So ask yourself this: what if the thing you've been waiting for is already here, just waiting for you to believe in it first? Sign 3. You feel deep restlessness and disorientation. There's a kind of restlessness that can't be explained. Not boredom, not burnout, not stress. It's deeper than that, like something inside you knows the life you're living is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. You look around and realize everything feels off. The job that once gave you pride now feels hollow. The routines that used to bring you stability now feel suffocating. Even the people you once felt so connected to now seem distant, like you no longer belong in the same world. And it's confusing, isn't it? Because nothing dramatic has changed. From the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, there's a quiet ache, an unsettling itch you can't quite name. That's not a flaw. That's your soul telling you the old life doesn't fit anymore. See, we often associate discomfort with something being wrong, but sometimes discomfort is the first sign that something right is trying to emerge. It's a message from your higher self. This chapter is done. It's time for something more. And if you ignore it, it doesn't go away. In fact, it gets louder. What once felt like gentle discontent begins to feel like anxiety. What once felt like restlessness becomes unbearable. Why? Because your spirit is evolving, and it won't let you stay in a space you've outgrown. This is the in-between, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And it's uncomfortable because growth always stretches us before it transforms us. It challenges your identity, your choices, your vision of what's possible. Let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up and thought, I can't keep doing this? Not because anything tragic happened, but because deep down you know you're meant for something more. That thought is a signal, not a sign of failure, but of awakening. And here's the hard part. Most people run from that feeling. They numb it. They bury it in distractions. They convince themselves they're just in a funk. But the truth is, restlessness is sacred. It means you're waking up. It means you're starting to notice the gap between your current life and your potential life. And the longer you sit with it, without trying to fix it, force it, or flee from it, the clearer things become. So instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, what's trying to change within me? Because once you stop fighting the feeling, you realize it's not here to break you. It's here to guide you. This discomfort, it's not the end. It's the beginning of a new direction, a new chapter that requires a different version of you. So if you're feeling lost, unsettled, or disconnected from your life right now, don't panic. You're not broken. You're just in the space between no longer and not yet. And that, my friend, is exactly where transformation begins. Sign 4, you become intolerant of superficiality. At some point in your growth journey, something strange starts to happen. You begin to lose your tolerance for anything fake. You no longer laugh at jokes that don't land. You no longer nod along to conversations that feel hollow. You can't force yourself to smile at surface-level small talk or pretend to agree just to keep the peace. The truth is, you're not becoming more bitter. You're becoming more honest. Because when you start living more authentically, you naturally begin to crave authentic connection in return. You start to notice how much of your time used to be spent maintaining appearances, saying what others wanted to hear, playing a version of yourself just to keep things comfortable. But now something inside you refuses. You no longer have the energy for fake friendships, empty flattery, or people who only show up when it benefits them. This shift isn't about being judgmental. It's about being awake. You see the patterns more clearly now. The backhanded compliments, the subtle manipulation disguised as kindness, the performative support that disappears when you're no longer convenient, and you can't unsee it. It's uncomfortable at first, especially if you're someone who spent most of your life people-pleasing. You might feel guilty for pulling away. You might second-guess your instincts, but the truth is your discomfort with inauthenticity is a sign of inner alignment. It means your inner world is no longer willing to tolerate what your outer world used to normalize. And that's a powerful place to be. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt completely alone? That's what happens when you're surrounded by performance, not presence. And when you start to outgrow that dynamic, you begin craving realness in every area of your life. Your relationships, your work, even how you talk to yourself. You want conversations that matter. You want energy that feels safe, not transactional. You want relationships rooted in respect, not obligation. And yes, that means letting some people go. It means walking away from spaces where you feel like you have to shrink, filter, or pretend. But what you gain in return is peace, clarity, freedom, because you're no longer wasting your life trying to be liked by people who don't even truly see you. You're done performing. You're ready to be real. And once you taste the clarity that comes with truth, it's almost impossible to go back. So if lately you find yourself pulling back from people, places, or conversations that feel fake, honor that. It's not you being cold. It's you protecting what's finally becoming true. Sign 5. Strange synchronicities keep appearing. Have you ever noticed how certain things keep showing up in your life again and again? You glance at the clock and it's 11:11. You hear the same phrase on a podcast, then again in a random conversation. A song plays that instantly brings back a memory right when you were thinking about that exact person. You think of someone from your past and suddenly they message you out of nowhere. At first, it seems like coincidence, but the more it happens, the harder it is to ignore. And eventually, you start to wonder, is the universe trying to tell me something? Here's what most people don't realize. Synchronicities, those strange repeated patterns and signs, aren't just random. They are a language, a form of communication between your conscious mind and something much bigger than yourself. Call it the universe. Call it God. Call it your higher self. Whatever name feels right to you, the message is the same. Pay attention, because when synchronicities start stacking up, it means something is aligning, something is shifting, and life is trying to guide you toward your next step, even if it doesn't make perfect sense yet. Most of us have been taught to dismiss these moments, to chalk them up to chance. But what if they're not coincidences at all? What if they're confirmations, signs that you're either on the right path or being nudged toward a better one? Think of it like this. If your life was a map, synchronicities would be the glowing markers lighting up the trail. They don't force you to move, but they invite you to notice. And the more in tune you become, the more of them you'll see. It might be numbers, it might be dreams, it might be a feeling you can't explain, but somehow you know it's important. Let me ask you something. Have you ever ignored a strange sign only to realize later it was trying to warn you or guide you? That missed phone call, that gut feeling you dismissed, That random message you brushed off. What if those weren't random at all? Here's the truth. When you're on the edge of transformation, life often whispers before it shouts. And those whispers come in the form of patterns, repeating words, faces, feelings, numbers, designed to get your attention. So if strange synchronicities are showing up in your life lately, don't shrug them off. Pause. Listen. Ask yourself, what am I being invited to see differently? What choice is life asking me to make? Because the more you listen, the more clearly the path begins to reveal itself. And you just might realize the signs have been there all along. You were simply ready to finally understand them. Sign 6, you feel a strong urge to do something new. Have you ever woken up one day with a strange, powerful feeling that you need to do something completely different? Not just a small change, but something bold. Something unexpected, like moving to a new city, quitting a job that no longer excites you, signing up for a class you never thought you would take, or diving into a project that makes no logical sense, yet feels deeply right. It's not about being impulsive. It's not about chasing novelty. It's something deeper. It's as if a part of you, your future self, is pulling you forward. And the feeling doesn't go away. You might try to dismiss it, push it down, tell yourself you're just being unrealistic or restless, but the more you try to ignore it, the louder it gets. That's because this isn't just a passing thought. It's a message, a signal that something within you is shifting, and the life you're currently living can no longer hold all of who you're becoming. You're being called toward expansion. And here's the thing, most people try to rationalize it away. They get stuck asking themselves, what if it doesn't work? Who am I to try something so different? Is this really the right time? But growth never shows up at the perfect time. It arrives disguised as restlessness, curiosity, or a sudden urge to move, even when everything looks stable on the outside. Let me ask you, have you ever felt strangely drawn to something that made no sense on paper, but deep down felt like it mattered? That's not random. That's inner alignment trying to break through old patterns. The truth is, the next version of your life often starts with a whisper, an unexpected idea, a sudden interest, a dream you didn't know you had permission to pursue. You're not imagining it. That pull towards something new, that's your soul recognizing that your current environment, habits, or even identity have reached their limit. And if you ignore it for too long, you'll start to feel stuck. Things you used to enjoy will feel heavy. Routines that once felt safe will start to feel like cages. That's the cost of ignoring your inner evolution. But if you choose to listen, you open the door to a life that might look wildly different, but feels more you than anything you have ever known. So don't wait for every detail to make sense. Don't ask for everyone's approval. Don't wait for certainty, because certainty only comes after the leap, never before it. Sometimes the very thing your heart keeps nudging you to explore is the key to the life you didn't even know you were meant to live. Sign 7. You feel an unexplainable peace amid the chaos. Have you ever found yourself in the middle of what feels like chaos, plans falling apart, relationships shifting, certainty slipping through your fingers? And yet, deep inside, you feel calm, not the kind of calm that comes from everything being okay, but the kind that makes no logical sense at all. A quiet stillness in the middle of the storm, like something in you knows this is happening for a reason. It's not denial. It's not detachment. It's something deeper. It's peace. And here's the paradox. Sometimes your life has to fall apart so you can finally fall into place. This kind of peace doesn't come from your circumstances. It comes from alignment, from knowing on some soul-deep level that the chaos is not punishment, it's preparation. Because here's the truth most people never hear. Breakdowns often come before breakthroughs. The old must crumble before the new can rise. And when you stop fighting that truth, when you surrender to it, something remarkable happens. You stop trying to force life to go back to what it was. You stop begging the past to make sense. And instead you begin trusting the unfolding, even if it looks messy. You realize maybe the job falling through wasn't a loss. Maybe the relationship ending wasn't failure. Maybe the uncertainty isn't danger, it's space. Room being made for something better. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked back on a time that felt like everything was going wrong, only to realize later that it was setting the stage for something far greater? That's what this piece is. It's not apathy, it's inner knowing. And it shows up when your inner world has finally stopped resisting change, when you're no longer trying to control every outcome, when you've made peace with not knowing, because you trust that clarity will come when it's supposed to. This kind of peace can feel strange, even scary, because the world tells us that when things fall apart, we should panic. But the soul often whispers, relax. This is the transition you asked for. So if you're feeling an odd sense of calm, even as your outer world feels unstable, don't dismiss it. Don't doubt. Honor it. It means you're becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive change. You grow through it. You expand inside of it. You anchor yourself in peace, not because everything is perfect, but because deep down, you know you're exactly where you need to be. Sign 8. Obstacles are showing up everywhere. Have you ever had a stretch of time where nothing seems to go as planned? You map out your next steps carefully, only to watch them fall apart one by one. A project collapses at the last minute. A relationship ends unexpectedly. An opportunity that felt like a sure thing suddenly vanishes. It's frustrating. It's disorienting. And it's easy to assume maybe I'm on the wrong path. But what if you're not? What if all these delays, disruptions, and roadblocks aren't signs you're failing, but signs that you're being prepared? Here's something we don't talk about enough. Every new level of your life requires a new version of you. And in order to become that version, you have to go through the pressure, the discomfort, the stretch. Just like a sword is forged in fire, you're being refined through resistance. See, most people interpret obstacles as punishment, but from a deeper perspective, obstacles are tests of readiness. Are you really committed to the path you say you want? Can you keep showing up even when it's inconvenient? Will you trust your direction even when it feels like nothing's working? Growth doesn't always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like falling apart. Because in those moments, you're shedding old identities, old habits, old ways of thinking that won't serve you where you're going. Think about it like this. If you were training for a marathon and the first time your legs got sore, you quit, would that mean you're not meant to run? Of course not. It would just mean you're at the edge of your current strength. And what lies beyond that edge is growth. So when life starts throwing challenge after challenge at you, don't assume you've made a mistake. Pause. Recenter. Ask yourself, what is this trying to build in me? Because sometimes things fall apart not because you're off track, but because you're about to level up. And life is simply making sure you're strong enough to handle it. You're not being blocked. You're being built. So don't give up just because it got hard. Don't shrink back because things aren't unfolding the way you imagined. Stay grounded. Stay focused. And remember, the presence of obstacles doesn't mean you're off course. It often means you're closer to the breakthrough than you think. 9. You start seeing the truth about people and situations. There comes a moment, quiet, sudden, when something inside you just clicks. You look at the people around you, the environments you've moved through, the roles you've played for years, and for the first time, you see things clearly. Not how you wish they were, not how they used to be, but how they actually are. That friend who always made subtle jabs, you finally recognize it wasn't teasing, it was disrespect. That job you kept convincing yourself was fine, you suddenly feel the weight of how misaligned it really is. That relationship you gave your heart to, you can't unsee how much you were shrinking just to keep it. And no, nothing new happened. What changed was you. Your awareness expanded. Your tolerance for half-truths, surface-level conversations, or energy-draining dynamics dropped. You stopped romanticizing what was never really love. You stopped excusing what was never really kind. You started seeing through the fog. And here's the truth. Awareness is a point of no return. Once you see the mask fall, you can't pretend it's still there. Once you recognize the pattern, you can't unlearn the lesson. This awakening can feel isolating. People around you might say, "You've changed." And they're right, but what they don't realize is you didn't change to hurt them. You changed to honor yourself, because pretending not to notice the misalignment didn't make it go away. It just made you exhausted. And suppressing your truth to keep the peace wasn't peace. It was slow self-abandonment. Now, this clarity doesn't mean you become bitter. It doesn't mean you cut everyone off or walk away from everything. It simply means you move differently. You start having real conversations instead of rehearsed ones. You set boundaries where you once stayed silent. You choose truth, even when it's uncomfortable, because you've tasted the cost of ignoring it. This level of clarity is often the final sign before a breakthrough, not because life is suddenly easier, but because you're no longer wasting energy on illusions. You're no longer trying to fix what isn't yours to fix. You're no longer performing roles that suffocate your spirit. Instead, you're aligning with truth, with integrity, with who you're becoming. So if right now you're starting to see the truth about people and situations you used to tolerate, don't run from it. Honor that awareness. Trust that clarity, and know that every ending it leads to is also a beginning, a new chapter rooted in truth. If you've been nodding along as you've heard these signs, if something deep inside you whispered, "That's me," then I want you to know something loud and clear. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. This isn't the end of your story. This is the page before the chapter that changes everything. But here's the tricky part. Transformation doesn't always arrive with fireworks. It often shows up disguised as confusion, fatigue, loss, or chaos. Like your life is being dismantled piece by piece. But what if I told you that's not destruction? That's design. That's your soul removing everything that no longer serves where you're going. See, the most powerful moments of our lives don't always come with clarity. They come with pressure. They come with silence. They come when we're standing on the edge of the unknown, with shaking hands and an inner voice that says, "You can't stay here forever." Maybe you've lost friends. Maybe the things that used to excite you now feel empty. Maybe your goals don't make sense anymore, and your heart keeps whispering that something has to change. And maybe that whisper isn't doubt. Maybe it's direction. Because growth rarely feels like victory in real time. It feels like unraveling. It feels like grieving a version of yourself that once felt like home. But that's not a sign to go back. It's a call to go deeper, to shed the roles, the rules, the routines that kept you small, to stop dimming your light just to fit into spaces you've outgrown, to release the pressure of who you should be and step boldly into who you truly are. This moment, right now, it's not random. It's sacred. It's part of your becoming. You're being asked to trust without all the answers, to move forward without the full map, to believe that even though it hurts, even though it's messy, something greater is being built within you. Because on the other side of this discomfort is a life that's more aligned, more grounded, more free than anything you've experienced before. But it only comes if you're willing to let go. Let go of the fear. Let go of what's fading. Let go of the version of you that was never meant to last forever. And yes, it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to grieve. But don't confuse discomfort with misalignment. Don't confuse challenge with punishment. Sometimes the breakdown is the blessing. Sometimes what feels like falling is actually flying without knowing it yet. So take a deep breath. You're not alone. You're not behind. You're in motion. And motion is life. Now, the only question is, will you either shift or will you rise with it? If this message found you at the right moment, don't scroll away silently. Drop a comment below that says, I'm ready. Share this with someone else who needs a reminder that change isn't the enemy, it's the entrance. And if you want to keep rising with us, subscribe, stay close, and never forget, this isn't your breakdown. This is your breakthrough.